It's Star Trek. I love it, it's important to me, but it's still a TV show. What is there to get?
Over the decades, Star Trek has become more than just a TV show. It's a cultural phenomenon. But behind the scenes, the final frontier wasn't always smooth sailing. Some actors walked away, others were pushed, and a few disappeared without a word. Was it drama, creative clashes, or something far more personal? Join us in this video as we dive deep into the real reasons why these beloved actors left Star Trek and what really happened when the cameras stopped rolling. You might be surprised who and why. The captain who missed the voyage. Why Jeffrey Hunter left Star Trek. Before Captain Kirk became a household name, the original captain of the Starship Enterprise was someone very different, Christopher Pike, portrayed by actor Jeffrey Hunter. Pike's command was featured in Star Trek's very first pilot, The Cage, a more thoughtful and philosophical take on space exploration. However, NBC found the episode too cerebral and passed on it. Still, they saw potential and gave creator Gene Roddenberry a rare second chance to rework the series. But by then, Jeffrey Hunter had already made up his mind. He decided not to return for the retooled version of the show for reasons that remain a mix of speculation, ranging from scheduling conflicts to a lack of interest in committing to a TV series. As a result, the role of the Enterprise captain went to William Shatner, who became the now iconic Captain James T. Kirk. Hunter's departure might have ended there, but it didn't. When the production fell behind schedule during the first season, footage from The Cage was cleverly repurposed into the two-part episode The Menagerie. This move not only saved time, but also introduced Captain Pike into Star Trek lore as Kirk's mysterious predecessor. What started as a behind-the-scenes workaround eventually laid the foundation for one of the franchise's most compelling legacy characters. Decades later, Pike would return in a big way, this time played by Anson Mount in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. So, although Jeffrey Hunter walked away before Star Trek even officially launched, his brief role sparked a legacy that's still unfolding more than 50 years later. One captain left quietly, another crew member left loudly. But why? Keep watching to find out. From forgotten to formidable. Why Denise Crosby walked away. Denise Crosby first appeared in Star Trek: The Next Generation as Lieutenant Tasha Yar, the Enterprise D's fierce and capable chief of security. But, behind the scenes, Crosby sensed something was lacking. Despite the promising role, Tasha frequently faded into the background, her talent hampered by poor scripting and insufficient screen time. Crosby, disgruntled and underutilized, made the daring choice to depart the series during its first season. Rather than gently writing her out, creator Gene Roddenberry decided to make her leaving memorable. Tasha was abruptly and unexpectedly assassinated off in episode 23, Skin of Evil, leaving fans astonished and solidifying her exit as one of the season's most talked-about moments. However, Denise Crosby's Star Trek voyage did not finish there. She later returned to the show, not just in flashbacks and different realities, but also in a daring new character that she helped develop. Crosby created Sela, Tasha Yar's half-Romulan daughter, and the TNG writing crew expanded on her. Sela developed as a crafty nemesis, providing Crosby the complex, dynamic character she had long desired. Sela, as a political counterpart to Captain Picard, finally offered Crosby the opportunity to leave a lasting impression on the franchise, demonstrating that even after her departure, she was never truly gone. So, what could have been the reason the next actor on the list left the show? Let's find out. Wil Wheaton's bittersweet goodbye. Why Wesley Crusher left the Enterprise. Wil Wheaton stepped into the spotlight early as Wesley Crusher, the prodigy son of Dr. Beverly Crusher on Star Trek: The Next Generation. But while Gates McFadden's absence in Season 2 triggered a passionate fan campaign for her return, Wesley didn't enjoy the same warmth. Despite Wheaton's previous success in Stand By Me, his time on TNG stalled his Hollywood momentum. When Wheaton landed a role in the film Valmont, he requested time off from the series. But the production team turned him down, insisting the episode he would miss was vital for Wesley's storyline. Trusting that, Wheaton declined the film, only to later discover the script had been rewritten to cut his character entirely. He saw it as a slap in the face and a sign that his contributions weren't valued. This tension behind the scenes eventually pushed Wheaton to walk away from The Next Generation in search of more fulfilling roles. But his story didn't end there. Wesley Crusher later returned, portrayed as a conflicted Starfleet cadet before joining the mysterious Travelers, a fittingly unusual path for one of Star Trek's most debated characters. Though Wheaton left the main cast, his bond with the franchise endured. He now hosts The Ready Room, the official after-show for modern Star Trek series, and remains a beloved voice in the Trek community. His journey is a reminder that, in Star Trek, leaving doesn't always mean you're gone for good. So what happened next? Stay tuned to find out. A bold exit. Why Michelle Forbes said no to Deep Space Nine. Michelle Forbes left a significant impression on Star Trek: The Next Generation as Ensign Ro Laren, a tough and complex Bajoran officer who debuted in Season 5. Her character laid the framework for a significant storyline in the Star Trek universe, the Cardassian takeover of Bajor. That plot would become central to the next Star Trek series, Deep Space Nine, and producers had big plans for Ro, hoping she would serve as the Bajoran second-in-command aboard the space station. But Forbes had other ambitions. She turned down the opportunity to join Deep Space Nine, choosing instead to pursue a film career. Her decision reportedly damaged her connection with the TNG production team and nearly resulted in her character not receiving a dignified farewell. Luckily, fate and scheduling conflicts intervened. During Season 7, the series ran behind on episodes, prompting the revival of a previously abandoned screenplay. That episode, Preemptive Strike, gave Ro Laren a stunning send-off as she opted to defy Starfleet and join the Maquis. It was a daring and poignant end to her narrative, and one of the most memorable character deaths in Star Trek history. Despite missing out on DS9, Forbes had a successful career in television, including roles in 24, Battlestar Galactica, and True Blood. Her tenure in Starfleet was brief, but Ro Laren's influence and Forbes's performance had a lasting impact on the franchise. She turned down Destiny, so why did another walk away? Keep watching to find out. Behind the curtain, why Terry Farrell left Deep Space Nine. Terry Farrell's departure from Star Trek. Deep Space Nine was one of the most emotional goodbyes in the franchise, but it didn't have to be. Farrell played Jadzia Dax, a fan-favorite character whose blend of wisdom and strength helped shape DS9's identity. But behind the scenes, the story was far more complicated. As her contract came up for renewal after Season 6, Farrell was feeling the weight of the demanding shooting schedule and asked for a reduced role in the show's final season. Instead of compromise, she says she was met with resistance, particularly from producer Rick Berman and Paramount executives. In later interviews and the documentary What We Left Behind, Farrell claimed she felt bullied into accepting a full-time return and ultimately chose to walk away when her request was denied. Berman has denied any wrongdoing, but the fallout was clear. Showrunner Ira Stephen Bear, unaware of the negotiations, was left angry and frustrated when he had no choice but to assassinate off Jadzia Dax. The irony? After leaving DS9, Farrell landed a lead role in the sitcom Becker, produced by the very same Paramount executives who wouldn't accommodate her on Star Trek. Despite the bitterness surrounding her exit, fans continue to celebrate Jadzia's legacy as one of DS9's most beloved characters. And Farrell's story remains a stark reminder of how off-screen tensions can shape the fate of on-screen heroes. One actress exited by choice. Was the next one forced out? Let's find out. The Doctor's disappearance. Why Gates McFadden was suddenly written out. Fans were surprised when Dr. Wesley Crusher quit Star Trek: The Next Generation after just one season. Gates McFadden brought warmth and sophistication to the character, anchoring the show's emotional heart, especially as Wesley Crusher's mother. However, her quick departure left both characters stranded, and many people found it strange that she was gone while her son remained on the Enterprise. Whispers suggested conflict between McFadden and the show's producers, particularly Maurice Hurley, TNG's head writer at the time. Years later, in an interview with Michael Rosenbaum, McFadden spoke candidly about that difficult era. When questioned if her connection with Hurley played a role in her departure, she openly stated, "I think I definitely pissed him off." She critiqued the show's early drafts for their antiquated view of women and expressed her dissatisfaction with the way her character's relationship with Wesley was depicted. "I kept saying, why is it that I've raised this genius kid, and yet every time there's anything, even possibly serious, it's only the male characters that talk to him. She's a scientist. I'm not buying this." McFadden's abrupt departure shocked fans and castmates alike, and her replacement, Diana Muldor as Dr. Pulaski, faced an uphill struggle from the start. Fortunately, the fan response helped McFadden recover. She returned in Season 3 and stayed with the program for the full run, even appearing in the TNG films and Star Trek: Picard. Her return was more than just a casting decision. It was a course correction that fans welcomed wholeheartedly. One doctor vanished, another stepped in. But why so briefly? Stay tuned to find out. A temporary doctor. Why Diana Muldor's time on TNG was so short. When Gates McFadden was abruptly forced out of Star Trek: The Next Generation after Season 1, the show's producers didn't recast Dr. Wesley Crusher. They replaced her entirely. Enter Diana Muldor, a familiar face in the Trek universe who had previously appeared in the original series and starred in Gene Roddenberry's telefilm Planet Earth. Roddenberry personally brought her on board to play Dr. Catherine Pulaski in Season 2. But despite her talent and experience, the transition was anything but smooth. Muldor was stepping into a tight-knit cast still loyal to McFadden, and according to rumors, she wasn't exactly welcomed with open arms. Her character, Pulaski, gave a direct, old-school vitality to the sickbay, but her chilly and dismissive attitude toward Data irritated some viewers. While Pulaski was supposed to be a different kind of doctor, less friendly and more matter-of-fact, fans used to Crusher's empathy were put off by the change. As for why Muldor left after just one season, the details have remained vague. She later mentioned a scheduling conflict with a McCloud reunion telefilm at the start of TNG's third season, and by then, her involvement with the show had run its course. What began as a favor to Roddenberry became less of a priority as his influence on TNG faded. Muldor didn't look back. She moved on to a major role in LA Law, where she played Rosalind Shays, a character who made one of the most unforgettable exits in television history. Her time on TNG may have been brief, but it was another chapter in a career full of bold roles and unexpected turns. From one sudden goodbye to another, what really happened with Voyager? Keep watching to find out. The Captain Who Wasn't. Genevieve Bujold's abrupt exit from Voyager. Genevieve Bujold's brief and unexpected role as the original captain of Star Trek. Voyager is one of the franchise's most intriguing casting stories. Bujold, a respected film actress known for her emotional depth, was first selected to play Captain Nicole Janeway in the series. But just a few days into filming the pilot, it became clear she wasn't the right fit for the role or the production. From the start, there was tension between her artistic style and the demands of Star Trek. Bujold wanted to play Janeway more like a cerebral scientist than a commanding Starfleet leader, a direction that clashed with what the role required. On top of that, she found the pace of TV production overwhelming. The long hours, quick turnarounds, and dense technical dialogue proved too much. Before the first week of filming wrapped, Bujold walked away, telling producers she simply wasn't suited for the part. Her unexpected departure may have hampered Voyager's launch, but it turned out to be a gift in disguise. The producers quickly turned to Kate Mulgrew, who had previously auditioned for the role. Mulgrew, who has a commanding presence and a grounded performance, stepped in and changed the character, now known as Catherine Janeway. She went on to become one of the most recognizable captains in Star Trek history. Bujold's departure is a rare reminder that not every job is a good fit, even for a seasoned actor. Her experience demonstrates how unique and demanding the Star Trek universe can be, particularly while leading the charge into the ultimate frontier. From one vanished star to the next. Who was Persis Khambatta? Let's find out. The bald beauty Hollywood overlooked. Persis Khambatta's short-lived Star Trek journey. During the uncertain years of the 1970s, Paramount flirted repeatedly with reviving Star Trek. One of the most promising attempts was a planned new series titled Star Trek II, now remembered by fans as Phase 2. It was meant to reunite the original cast for a fresh TV adventure, and everyone signed on, except Leonard Nimoy. To fill the Spock-shaped hole, producers introduced new characters: the logical lieutenant, Zahn, the passionate Commander Decker, and the mysterious navigator, Lieutenant Ilia, a Deltan gifted with empathic powers and razor-sharp mathematical skills. Ilia was to be a central figure in the series. Producers cast Persis Khambatta, a former Femina Miss India, to bring the character to life. Multiple episodes were written with her in mind, including one called The Child, which Star Trek: The Next Generation would later adapt. But before cameras could roll, the studio pulled the plug on the network, and with it, the series. Still determined to make something of their efforts, Paramount repurposed the 2-hour pilot into a feature film, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Nimoy returned as Spock, leaving Zahn on the sidelines. Ilia and Decker, the two fresh faces, were largely reduced to narrative stepping stones, ultimately sacrificed to the mysterious entity Voyager in a metaphysical twist ending that preserved the spotlight for Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Persis Khambatta's run in the franchise was brief, but not without impact. According to Sherilyn Connolly's biography, Presenting Persis Khambatta, the actress wasn't crushed by the experience. Filming had been grueling, and Hollywood's fixation on her shaved head overshadowed her talent. While she didn't return to Star Trek, her bold portrayal of Ilia left a lasting impression, one of the earliest attempts at showcasing a truly alien female lead in the franchise. From a brief spotlight to a quiet goodbye, what broke Grace? Keep watching to find out. The silent exit of Janice Rand, Grace Lee Whitney's painful trek. Even before Star Trek debuted in September 1966, Grace Lee Whitney's fate as yeoman Janice Rand had already been sealed. Her character, a poised and capable aide to Captain Kirk, was quietly written out of the show after just a handful of episodes. In her courageous memoir, The Longest Trek: My Tour of the Galaxy, Whitney revealed that her departure was far more than a creative decision. She disclosed that she had been sexually assaulted by an individual she only identified as the executive at Desilu Studios. Whitney believed she was dismissed because her continued presence would have been a constant reminder to her assailant. Officially, however, the reason was budgetary. A casting memo from late August 1966, just weeks before her assault, shows that Whitney, one of the highest-paid supporting actors, was being considered for termination or a contract renegotiation due to limited screen time. Gene Roddenberry later expressed deep regret over cutting Rand from the series. In fact, less than 2 months after she was let go, he floated the idea of bringing Whitney back in a guest role. But that idea never materialized, and Rand vanished from Star Trek's original 5-year mission. Years later, Rand made a quiet but meaningful return. Whitney reprised the character in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and made brief appearances in films 3, 4, and 6. She also appeared one final time in the Voyager episode Flashback, a moment that honored both the character and the actress. Grace Lee Whitney passed away in 2015, having long since coming to peace with the painful chapters of her journey. As she once told this author during a lunch in 2012, she had found closure. A quiet, dignified end to a story that deserved better. What you might call a grace note. Her story ended in silence. Why didn't this next actor return? Let's find out. Why Kirsty Ally never returned as Saavik. Kirsty Ally's Saavik was a standout presence in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and many expected her to return for the sequel. But according to Captain Kirk himself, that decision came down to one thing: money. In his memoir Star Trek Movie Memories, William Shatner recalled that Paramount lowballed Ally's offer. Paramount's offer came in very, very low. It was less than they offered me for Star Trek, so I figured they weren't interested in me playing the part, Ally explained to Shatner. The message felt clear. She wasn't valued enough to stay. Leonard Nimoy, who both starred in and directed Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, backed that up. "We just couldn't afford her," Nimoy told Shatner. "She'd been paid a decent sum for Star Trek II for a beginner, and I think the studio was prepared to pay her more than twice that for III. But it still wasn't enough." With Ally out, Robin Curtis stepped in to play Saavik in Star Trek III and IV. Shatner called Curtis's performance solid in a rather thankless role. Still, fans never quite forgot Ally's version of the cool, composed Vulcan officer. Ironically, Ally would later replace another actress, Shelley Long, on Cheers, after Long left that hit show to pursue a film career. In a way, it was another passing of the torch, but one that left Star Trek fans wondering what might have been had Saavik stayed the course. One exit raised eyebrows. Did the next surprise fans even more? Stay tuned to find out. Why Jennifer Leen left Star Trek, Voyager. Jennifer Leen left Star Trek, Voyager after 3 seasons, despite Kes being a central and promising character. When Voyager premiered in 1995, it helped usher in a new generation of fans following the success of The Next Generation. In a bold departure from prior shows, forcing them into a 7-year journey home, Leen played Kes, a young Ocampa with a short lifetime, powerful telepathic powers, and an early romantic involvement with Neelix. Though Kes was unusual and had a lot of story potential, the character never really connected with viewers. Kes, like Wesley Crusher before her, embodied the archetype of the youthful, brilliant crew member, albeit without the same level of audience resentment. Nonetheless, Kes wasn't among the more beloved characters, and this lack of popularity eventually caught up with the writers. In the Season 4 episode The Gift, Kes's growing psychic abilities spiral out of control following an encounter with Species 8472. Kes, understanding she is a threat to the people she has come to love, decides to leave Voyager, transforming into a being of pure energy and fleeing into the galaxy. It was a poignant farewell, leaving her ultimate fate unknown. However, her departure was not solely owing to storyline constraints. Behind the scenes, several factors prompted Lion's departure. Showrunners Rick Berman and Jerry Taylor subsequently admitted that the Neelix-Keyes romance was a mistake, and that, despite Lion's talent, the writers had hit a creative dead end. The Ocampa's brief 9-year tenure limited long-term plot potential, making it increasingly difficult to incorporate Kes into following arcs. Nonetheless, Lion's performance was greatly applauded by both fans and cast members. Many others believed her departure also made space for the introduction of 7 of 9, played by Jerry Ryan, a move that radically changed the series and increased its ratings. Kes may not have had the endurance of other Star Trek characters, but her departure remains one of the more melancholy moments in Voyager's history, a warning that even promising parts can be lost if the creative stars do not align. Although most of these actors had the choice to step away or were fired, one didn't have any option. Why? Let's find out. Anton Yelchin's tragic death at the height of stardom. Anton Yelchin, the excellent actor who brought young vitality and charm to Pavel Chekhov in the rebooted Star Trek films, died tragically and unexpectedly in June 2016. Yelchin died in a bizarre accident at his Los Angeles home when he was only 27 years old, sending shockwaves across Hollywood and devastating the Star Trek community. The accident occurred in the early hours of the morning. Yelchin had exited his vehicle, a 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee, when it suddenly rolled backward down his steep driveway. The car pinned him against a brick postbox pillar and a security gate, causing fatal injuries. When the young actor failed to arrive at a scheduled rehearsal, concerned friends came to his home and made the heartbreaking discovery. The coroner ruled the cause of death as blunt traumatic asphyxia, and the LAPD classified it as a tragic accident. Yelchin had just finished filming Star Trek Beyond, the third part in the rebooted film series, when he died. His portrayal of Chekhov, made famous by Walter Koenig, was widely praised for its warmth, wit, and insight. Director Justin Lin, who helmed Star Trek Beyond, expressed his grief, saying, "Still in shock. Rest in peace, Anton. Your passion and enthusiasm will live on with everyone who had the pleasure of knowing you." Tributes poured in from colleagues and co-stars. J.J. Abrams, who directed Yelchin in the first two Star Trek reboots, wrote, "You were kind, you were funny as hell, and supremely talented, and you weren't here nearly long enough. Wise beyond his years, and gone before his time." John Cho, who played Sulu, wrote, "I loved Anton Yelchin so much. He was a true artist, curious, beautiful, courageous. I'm in ruins." Even William Shatner, the original Captain Kirk, took to social media to express sorrow over the loss of such a talented young man. Further heartbreak came with the revelation that the model of Jeep involved in the accident had been under investigation for its controversial electronic shifter, which had led to numerous driver complaints about confusion over whether the vehicle was actually in park. Although no direct link was formally established in Yelchin's case, the tragedy sparked public outcry and intensified scrutiny over the vehicle's design. Jodie Foster, who had directed Yelchin in the 2011 film The Beaver, described him as a rare and beautiful soul with his unstoppable passion for life. That sentiment was echoed across the entertainment industry and among fans, many of whom had watched him grow from a promising child actor into a star on the rise. Anton Yelchin's untimely death was more than just the loss of a talented actor. It was the stillness of a brilliant, curious spirit whose potential seemed limitless. His portrayal of Chekhov serves as a somber reminder of what he added to Star Trek and what the world lost far too soon. So, how did the legacy of Star Trek carry on? Stay tuned to find out. The legacy of Star Trek. Star Trek is more than a television series. It is a cultural phenomenon that has boldly expanded beyond its 1960s roots. The brand, founded by Gene Roddenberry, began with a single series and has since grown into one of the most recognizable and profitable media empires in history. Its influence now extends to television, film, literature, comics, video games, and even language, reaching generations of fans and influencing the landscape of science fiction and popular culture. The first Star Trek series began on Canada's CTV network on September 6, 1966, followed by NBC 2 days later. Set in the 23rd century, the show followed the travels of the starship USS Enterprise as it discovered odd new worlds and encountered new life and civilizations. Roddenberry was inspired by the naval adventures of C.S. Forester's Horatio Hornblower, the social satire of Gulliver's Travels, the future vision of Forbidden Planet, and the structure of TV westerns such as Wagon Train. His design served as both a space adventure and a forum for philosophical reflection on human nature. After being canceled after only 3 seasons, Star Trek refused to slip into obscurity. It was revived as an animated series and 6 feature films, reuniting the original cast. Then, in the late 1980s, a television revival took flight with The Next Generation, set a century after the original. That era would spawn multiple new series, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, as well as 4 feature films centered around Captain Picard and his crew. In 2009, J.J. Abrams initiated a cinematic reboot set in an alternate timeline, the Kelvin timeline, that presented new versions of old characters and resulted in 3 new films. But it was not the end. Beginning in 2017, Star Trek returned to television with a new wave of programs set in the original timeline, including Discovery, Picard, Short Treks, Lower Decks, Prodigy, and Strange New Worlds, many of which were streamed on digital platforms and aimed at new generations. But Star Trek is more than simply a franchise. It is a community. Fans, affectionately known as Trekkies or Trekkers, have kept the dream alive through conventions, souvenirs, fan films, and other activities. The effect of Star Trek can be seen everywhere, from a decade-long Vegas attraction to traveling museum exhibits. The Klingon language was invented just for the series and has since been studied, translated, and spoken around the world. More than anything, Star Trek has always been ahead of its time. It's praised for its vision of a future where humanity has overcome many of its social divides. The original series had one of television's first interracial casts, reflecting a message of inclusivity that was popular during the Civil Rights Movement. That heritage lives on today, making Star Trek more than just entertainment. It's a symbol of optimism, opportunity, and the eternal force of imagination. So, what are your thoughts on these actors and the real reasons for their departure from Star Trek? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.